You are running right now, not with your feet, in your chest. That tight, low-grade sprint that never actually stops. Not on weekends, not on vacation, not even when you're lying in bed staring at the ceiling at 2 in the morning. You're running, and you don't even know where you're going. You just know that if you stop, something terrible will happen. I'm Miles. I'm 85 years old. I live in a converted tool shed behind a house in rural Vermont that I rent for $400 a month. My net worth, if you're keeping score, is somewhere between a used truck and a decent guitar. By every number your world uses to measure a human life, I am a spectacular, irredeemable failure. I want to tell you exactly why that's the best thing that ever happened to me. You're on a treadmill, and here's the part nobody mentions. You chose to get on it. Nobody held a gun to your head. You climbed up, hit the button, and cranked the speed up yourself, because you were told that's what people do. That's what getting somewhere looks like. And now you can't get off. Not because the belt won't stop. Because you're terrified of what people will say when they see you standing still. You are not running toward anything. You are running away from the judgment of people who are also running. Away from the same thing. And every year, you crank the speed up a little more, because slowing down feels like losing, and you'd rather blow out your knees than be seen losing. You tell yourself you'll slow down when you hit the number, when you make VP, when the mortgage is paid, when the kids are through college. I know this. I used to say it too. But here's what you won't admit. You don't actually believe it. Some quiet part of you already knows the number keeps moving. The finish line is painted on a curtain, and there's another curtain behind it. You know this, and you run anyway, because stopping feels like dying. And you're wrong about that. I promise you, you are wrong about that. In 1973, I was 33 years old, and I was winning. I know that's not how I'm supposed to open that sentence, but it's the truth. By the only scoreboard I knew how to read back then, I was ahead. Senior account director at a firm in Boston. My name in the masthead of a magazine that mattered. An apartment on Beacon Hill with a view I used to brag about at parties. I had a wife named Carol, who was smarter than me and kinder than I deserved, and a daughter named Sophie, who was 4 years old and just learning to tell knock-knock jokes. I was also on the treadmill at full sprint, and I had convinced myself that was called ambition. There was a man at the firm named Douglas, 15 years older than me, an inch shorter, wore the same blue suit every Tuesday. Douglas was what they called a lifer. No corner office ambitions. Left at 5 every day without apology. Never worked a weekend in his life. The younger guys talked about him like he was a cautionary tale. Don't be a Douglas. Douglas had given up. Douglas had no fire. I used to feel sorry for Douglas. In the spring of '74, the firm had what you'd call a restructuring. 2 senior directors were going to be elevated. One of them was going to be me. I was sure of it. I'd given that firm 4 years of 60-hour weeks. I'd missed Carol's birthday twice. I'd missed Sophie's first steps because I was on a call with a client in London who never once learned my last name. They promoted a man named Gerald instead. I found out on a Thursday afternoon, sitting in my glass-walled office, watching the rain come off the harbor. My boss came in, closed the door, gave me some language about trajectory and timing and tremendous value going forward. I nodded. I thanked him. I went to the bathroom and sat in a stall for 20 minutes, not crying, just sitting there with the sound of the ventilation fan above me, trying to locate what I was feeling. It wasn't anger. That would have made sense. It was something worse. It was the first crack, just a hairline fracture, in the idea that the machine would reward me if I just kept feeding it. I'd given it everything it asked for, and it had taken it all and handed the prize to Gerald, who golfed with the partners on Sundays. I told Carol that night. She put her hand on mine across the dinner table, and she said quietly, "Miles, you've been unhappy for 2 years. I was hoping this would help you see that." I didn't hear it. Not really. I thought she was consoling me. I thought what she was actually saying was, "Try harder next time." So I did. I tried harder. I gave the next 3 years to that firm the way a man gives years to a war, grimly, with the belief that sacrifice has to mean something. By 1977, I had the promotion, corner office, the view, the title on the door. Sophie was 7. She'd started leaving notes for me on the kitchen counter because she figured out that was the only way I'd see them before she went to bed. Yellow sticky notes. "Daddy, I drew you a horse. It's on the fridge." I have 3 of those notes in a shoebox under my cot right now. I kept them. I don't know why I kept them when I didn't stop to read them then. Carol left in 1979. Not dramatically. No screaming. She sat down with me one Sunday morning and said, "I don't think you know how to stop, and I don't think I can watch anymore." I told her she was wrong. I kept running for another 4 years after that. Made VP in 1981. Moved to a bigger apartment. Bought a better suit. The view was spectacular. Sophie stopped calling around 1983. I told myself she was busy. She was a teenager. She had her own life. She was fine. I remember the exact moment I got off the treadmill. It wasn't dramatic either. It was a Tuesday in November 1984. I was 44 years old. I was in a meeting about a campaign for a product I didn't care about, for a client I didn't respect, and I watched the second hand on the clock above the door go around 3 full times. And I thought, I am trading the minutes of my actual life for this, one by one. This is the transaction. I walked out of the meeting, not out of the room, out of the building, took the T to South Station, bought a bus ticket to nowhere in particular, which turned out to be Brattleboro, Vermont. I called my assistant from a payphone and told her I wouldn't be back. She thought I was having a breakdown. She wasn't entirely wrong, but it was the good kind. Here's what took me years to understand about what I'd been doing. I thought I was building something. I thought every hour I poured into that firm was a deposit in some account that would eventually pay out, in security, in respect, in the feeling of being a man who mattered. But you don't build a life by feeding a machine. You build a life by showing up to it. The treadmill has a very clever design. It makes motion feel like progress. Your legs are moving, your heart is pounding, the belt is blurring underneath you. It feels like you're going somewhere. But you haven't moved an inch. You are exactly where you were when you got on, except now you're exhausted. And here's the thing nobody tells you about getting off. The treadmill doesn't stop when you do. It keeps running. The firm kept running. Gerald made partner. The campaigns got made. The clients got served. Nobody noticed I was gone for more than 2 weeks. The machine doesn't need you. It just needs somebody standing on the belt. The freedom isn't in stopping the machine. The freedom is in realizing you were never actually part of it. You were just another interchangeable part, wearing down, heating up, one day to be replaced without ceremony. The day you understand that, the treadmill loses its power over you entirely. I have 2 friends from that Boston life, or had. One of them's gone now, Gerald. He made partner in 1978. By 1990, he had everything the scoreboard said you were supposed to have. The Wellesley house, the Nantucket summer rental, the club membership, the kids in private school. Gerald was the proof that the machine rewarded its true believers. He worked until 74 because he genuinely didn't know how to stop. When he retired, his partners threw him a dinner. He told me afterward that he'd sat through the whole thing, waiting to feel something. He died at 78 of a stroke, in a nice hospital, in a room full of achievements he'd stopped being able to enjoy about 15 years before the end. Gerald wasn't a bad man. He was a faithful one. He kept every promise the treadmill made, and the treadmill kept none of them. Then there's a woman named Rosalie. She runs a small plant nursery out of a converted barn about 6 miles from where I live. She's 79. She used to teach high school English in Massachusetts, quit at 52 to grow things, and her income in a good year is approximately what Gerald spent on quarterly wine shipments. By every number on the scoreboard, she lost. Rosalie gets up before dawn every morning to check on her seedlings. She has dirt under her fingernails at all times. Last spring, she spent 3 weeks nursing a single heirloom tomato plant back from some kind of blight, talking to it every day, and when it finally fruited, she called me over to taste it like it was a religious event. She's the most fully alive person I know, not because she has more, because she stopped letting the machine decide what counted. So let me tell you what to actually do. Because I'm 85 and I don't have time for vague wisdom, and neither do you. First, find out what you actually enjoy. Not what you enjoy telling people you enjoy. What you do when nobody is watching, when there's no audience, no story to post about it afterward. For me, it was reading and cooking and walking slowly through places with trees. I had those things available to me my whole career. I chose the treadmill instead. You have things like that too. You just haven't let yourself take them seriously because they don't produce anything the machine can use. Second, calculate the real price. Take your salary and divide it by the hours your job actually takes from your life, not just the hours at the desk, but the hours you spend mentally at work while you're supposedly somewhere else. The Sunday dread, the 11 p.m. emails, the vacation you were half present for. When I did this math, in 1984, I was making about $4 an hour in any real sense. A dishwasher in Brattleboro made more, and he got to leave the restaurant inside his head when he clocked out. Third, practice doing nothing productive. I mean it. Sit outside for 30 minutes and produce absolutely nothing. No podcast, no phone, no optimizing. Let your brain be bored. The machine has convinced you that an unproductive moment is a wasted one. It's the opposite. Boredom is where you find out who you actually are when nobody's measuring you. Most people haven't met that person in years. Some people are afraid of him. Fourth, ask yourself whose opinion you are actually running from. Name the face. I'll wait, because I promise you, when you name it, you'll realize that person is also on a treadmill, also running, also terrified. The jury that's been judging your life's choices is made up entirely of people who are too busy being judged themselves to actually look at you. Step off the belt. The machine will survive without you. You might not survive the machine. I'm tired. Not the kind of tired that sleep fixes, the kind that's just age doing its honest work on a body that's been here for 85 years. I don't mind it. Tired means you were somewhere. Tired means something happened. Sophie called me last spring, first time in years. She's 55 now, has her own daughter. We talked for 2 hours. It wasn't everything. There's too much ground between us for everything. But it was something. And something, I've learned, is what life is mostly made of. I'm not the cautionary tale. I'm the man who got off the treadmill at 44 and spent the next 41 years reading by windows and cooking slow food and watching the light change on the hills and taking up and abandoning about a dozen different instruments. I never made anything the world called important. I just made a life. And it turns out that's the harder thing. If this landed somewhere real for you, share it with whoever you know that's running hardest and sleeping worst. Leave me a comment. What's the thing you'd do if you weren't afraid of what they'd say about you? I read them all. And if you want more of these conversations, subscribe. There are more of us out here with things to tell you. I'll go back to my shed now. The light's coming in good this time of day. That's enough.